Let's showcase every single aircraft that got the new FOX-3's and test them out a little bit. Hello guys, once again in the dev, you know the drill. Thank you all the members, all the patrons, make sure to subscribe and let's get into it. We start with the US, of course the F-15C MSIP2. We already did a whole video about it, not gonna even fly it, you know the drill is about this aircraft. But of course it is using the A120A. Yes, it is kind of sad that it's just the A, but I have a feeling that with the R-77 and MICA in the game, I see these aircraft receiving a C variant very, very soon. I think there is a C variant even in the files, right? So we might see it if needed, maybe, or I don't know what Gaijin is thinking, but yeah. But of course, another aircraft that can actually use this is the F-16C, guys. Yes, the F-16C also got the A120. I mean, I just think that the loadout makes a lot more sense right now with this aircraft. The A120 on the wingtips, just like in real life. So yeah, very, very cool looking aircraft. We're going to test a little bit of it right here with the F-16 in the flight, test flight. Of course, we need to. And while we do that, the MFD of this aircraft is different, if I'm not mistaken, as well, which is pretty cool, right? So yeah, here we are. Let's take off. I'm gonna drop these fuel tanks. Yeah, and then of course let's see the turning capability. This is not gonna be a full test, and I will show to you guys the stat cards, okay? But just to like compare to each other, I will do this test of every single aircraft. So I have a feeling that yes, the A120 is turning pretty well. Although it's just 35 Gs, it turns very well, guys. And you will see compared to some of the other missiles, it is only 35 Gs, but the missile is pretty good. It is really, really good. It starts turning very, very soon. Some of the other missiles take a lot more time to actually do the turn. So don't you worry, this missile will be competitive. That's probably why they are waiting for the C variant to be added maybe later, right? But a very, very good missile. So let's return to the hangar to show to you guys the stat card of it. As I said, it is a 35G missile. We're going to take a look afterwards after everything settles down a little bit on the files to see if the performance of these missiles are according of what we can see in the game, you know, in the files and stuff. So yeah, for the 35 Gs, you know, 80 kilometers, and the lock range for the active radar homing is 16 kilometers. So pretty good missile. Very, very good. I gotta say, I was expecting less for this missile. We have to test it out in longer ranges, but again, I will do a proper video doing that, testing all the missiles. For the Germans, yes, guys, finally the F4F ICE is here. And it's kind of sad that it's only using the normal AIM-9L. You should be using like the LI or some form of better version of the AIM-9, but still, it has the AIM-120. I really honestly thought that we were going to get the B variant. I didn't think they actually used the A variant, but still it doesn't matter too much. They're very similar missiles. But yeah, we have here the AIM-120 paired with an APG-65. Which is the radar on the initial F-18s. It is a little bit different than those, but still, it is a version of that. Very, very cool aircraft, and I will be doing a whole video about it, okay? But just to show to you guys. For the Soviets, we have, of course, the glorious R-77, an amazing missile that it really is one of the best in the game, but as I'm gonna show, it's more of a long-range missile for some reason. You will see, it's kind of weird. The G limit on this thing is 50, so 15 G more than the AIM-120, a lot more than the AIM-120, with 16 kilometers of lock range and 80 kilometers of launch range, so very similar on that regard. Not that stat cards mean too much, but of course not only the Su-27SM can take it, but the SMT can take it as well. So let's test fly it with the SMT to show to you guys the performance of this missile a little bit. It feels like it is a better missile, but not right away. And this would probably be my you know, preferred loadout. 2 R-73s, 2 R-77s, 1 R-27ER and 1 R-27ET. But depending on the performance, I might take just the R-77s. I just have to wait and see if they can actually do my beloved 50-kilometer kills that I always love to do, right? So yeah, here we are. Let's drop the fuel tank. Let's get a lock over here, and you will see the gimbal limit is a lot bigger. But you will see that, yeah, now the missile is actually turning very well. I don't know what happened. I tested before when the dev server was kind of falling and getting back up and stuff, and it was kind of bugged. And the missile was not turning very well, so I guess, I don't know, what I was about to say isn't really true. So, yeah, the R77 will be one of the best missiles in the game, for sure, if not the best. I think there is one that we are going to show to you guys that will be as good as the R77 at least. So let's return to the hangar. Amazing missile, but you know, bear in mind that those fins on the back, they do make the missile turn a lot more than some other missiles, like those fins right there, but they do produce a lot of drag. So when the missile is actually turning a lot, it will lose more energy probably, at least in theory, according to real life stuff and DCS and other games and stuff. People tend to believe that these missiles, they normally take, you know, the drag of them while turning is pretty high. Then we go for the UK, and we have some very interesting missiles. At first we have the Gripen, the South African Gripen, of course with the R Darter. This is the R Darter, not the A Darter. Of course the A Darter is a IR missile, but the R Darter is basically as good as that missile in turning capability and everything like that. So it is a pretty good missile. As you see, 40 Gs, a little bit more than the M120s, but a little bit less than the R77s, but it's still pretty good. The ranges, everything like that is pretty much the same, and it's a very cool looking missile. So let's test it out on the test flight over here, and I expect this missile to be kinda the main fighter. We're going to talk about other aircraft that use like FOX-3 missiles in the UK, but I gotta be honest, nothing will compare to a Gripen with a FOX-3 missile in the UK line. It doesn't matter if it's a Tornado, it doesn't matter if it's a Sea Harrier. Obviously, the Gripen will be the better aircraft, okay? So I suspect this thing to be kind of a mix between the R77 and the M120, but again, it's complicated to test it in the way that I'm testing right now. It's just, I mean, they're very similar. You see that it just feels like the R77 turns a little bit more, but it's very similar to the M120, maybe turning a little bit more. Still, all these missiles are pretty good. By the way, take a look on the radar as well. We have some other types of mechanics. Why was I maintaining the lock? But yeah, now if you fire the missile, you can see where the missile is going and where the target is on the radar screen over there, and the speed of the missile as well. So that's a pretty good UI kind of situation to help you actually identify if you have to fire another missile or not. So very, very cool. But as I said, I mean, this Darter is kind of a mix between an R77 right now and an M120. At least it feels like that. But we have some very interesting aircrafts. Guys, the Tornado F3 got a new version, just below the normal one, that actually has M120s on it. And it's not the same M120. I have to check on the files, but it is the B variant. I don't know if there is any difference in the game. You know, in real life, it has a little bit of a better autopilot and some other electronics things that help the missile be better, more efficient, you know. So it is supposed to be a better missile than the A, but not by a huge margin. But it is very, very cool to see this missile in the game, okay? The Sea Harrier is also using that. So I'm going to test it out with the Sea Harrier. Although it's a slower aircraft, still, it is pretty good. Just one thing, Stage 2G of the version of the Fox Hunter on the F3. So it is basically the same aircraft, okay? But just instead of just the Skyflash, he actually has the ability to carry the M120s. And the Sea Harrier, it's the FA2, finally the FA2 as well, which has the Blue Vixen radar. Is it the best radar ever? Maybe not, but it's a pretty good radar. You will see. It's a pretty amazing radar. It has some interesting things, like the Sky Guardian 200, RWR and stuff. So it's a very, very cool aircraft. I might do a whole video about it. The weird part about this thing is that the way that it carries the M120. So look at this. You cannot take anything else here. I mean, you choose an M120 or an 18, for example. And if you are in a top tier, I might as well take the M120, right? And here you have to choose between the AIM-9M or two AIM-9Ms and then AIM-120 as well. So it's kind of a lot of choices that you have to do here. So just bear that in mind. So let's test this aircraft out and see if we can feel any differences on the M120B. It should be basically the same as the A, but still. Of course, vertical takeoff. Let me put this, and yeah, let's hunt these pesky bots. Oh my god, no. Not gonna die now. Again, this aircraft is slower, so remember that when I'm firing these missiles. Look at the size of the missile compared to the aircraft, right? It has only this type of thing, but as you see, the radar is pretty good on this aircraft, TWS, which is also a good thing. And we fire the missile. Let me fire like this to see turning. So yeah, I don't know, it feels like an M120A. It doesn't change much. It is a lot less capable in the turn than the R77 and the Darter. As you see, it takes its time turning. I don't know if it's the speed because I'm flying with a slower aircraft. That's probably what it is. But still, remember, the M120A and B should be pretty much the same, at least in turning capability and everything like that. For Japan, we only have one aircraft, and that's the F-15J Kai. It is the same as the F-15C, okay? I already did a video about it, but it uses a different missile. And this is the AM-4. So this is an interesting missile, guys. This is basically what you should expect from an M120C5 or something if he gets added for the F-16s and F-15s of other nations. This is a 40G M120, basically. That's kind of what it is. So we're going to test it out as well. And it is pretty good. It is very similar to the Darter. Again, I mean, all of these missiles, they're going to be capable. Don't expect one of the missiles to be way better than the other ones. They're kind of in the mix, all of them, with some minor changes. Of course, if you compare the worst missile to the best missile in turning capability of range or whatever you want to compare it to, yes, you will feel a difference, but it's not like a big difference, okay? So just bear that in mind. Let me drop this. This is a very weird way of firing the missile, just to show to you guys the capability of the missile. Yeah, see how it turns way better than the M120A and B. Like even in a slower airspeed like I am right now, this missile just turns, you know. It turns right away, just like an RNR-77. So this is one of the best missiles in the game for sure. Yeah, it's right up there. Probably top 3 together with the Darter and some of the others. But yeah, it is a pretty amazing missile. And I cannot wait to actually see a better version of the M120 and the Americans and other nations. Because I think with some of these missiles, I think we should receive it. For China, we have obviously the PL-12 on the J-8F. It's the same aircraft as before, but it does get the PL-12. It's like one of the heaviest missiles out there, and it doesn't turn very well compared to the other ones. So don't expect this missile to be the best missile in the game. But of course, it is in a lower BR and in a 3rd generation aircraft. So I'm not really mad that this missile is worse than the other ones. I wasn't expecting it to be so heavy. That's the only thing, because this is basically an M120, right? A copy of an M120 looks like, or something like that. I might be completely wrong, but it feels like that on the looks of it, and the G's and everything like that. But if you compare the weights of all the other missiles compared to this one, this is probably the heaviest, which is something that it's kind of interesting. But again, I mean, this is a lower BR aircraft, which means that it doesn't matter too much. So if I fire the missile, it has a very large thing here, but yeah, it turns very well. It feels like an M120. And nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. It's still way better than any semi-active missile, for sure. So yeah, just expect this missile to have kind of a big inertia. This means that in longer ranges, it might help downwards, you know, if you're shooting downwards, but it might be bad, you know, shooting upwards, and it might be worse when it's accelerating, right? And for the J-11, of course, the R-77 exported to the Chinese as well. Not gonna test this missile, we already did. So for the Italians, we have the M120A for the Gripen over here. It's not kind of modeled, it's kind of bugged and stuff, but doesn't matter. You will receive the AIM-120, and the AV8B Plus also is getting the AIM-120, so another Harrier that got this missile. It is kind of interesting the way that it takes it. You cannot take it in any other pylon, as you see. So these are for air to ground, as you see. You can take the gun, of course, but yeah, you can only take 4 missiles, and then it's just like AIM-9 in the wingtips, and then AIM-120s here. But again, I mean, it's a 12.3 aircraft, so I guess it's fine, right? And then we go for France. France is kind of interesting. Before we go to the fun in the MICA, which I think it's probably the best missile in the game, maybe together with the R-77, we have the new Belgian F-16 AM, the MLU version of the F-16 that gets the AIM-120A. So this is the later version of it, as you see. You get a version with just the AIM-9, sorry, and then we have a version of the F-16 upgraded with that. And by the way, this aircraft has a MAW system. So very, very interesting. It has the automatic deploy of chaff and flares. So it's a very, very interesting system. I have to still check. I will do a whole video about this tech tree and I will properly check, but still. But then we go for the big one. The Mirage 2005F, finally competitive with 8 missiles, as you see. You have to take the Magics over here. You cannot take the MICA EM over here, but still, it is pretty interesting to see all of these missiles. And imagine when this thing actually gets the IR as well. This thing will be amazing. So finally, it's in its full form. And as you see over here, you can take a lot of them. As you see, the MICA EM has a 50G, but it has less launch range. So it's a very light missile, probably less range than the others, but it probably turns better than any other missile. I think it's because of the way that it burns, okay? So we're going to test it out, but try to see if you can actually feel it looking at the video, right? Because it feels like it is the best missile in the game. It's just that, of course, it has less range than some of the others, but to be honest, I mean, more than 50 kilometers, are you really gonna fire at more than 50 kilometers any missiles in this game? Probably not, right? So, yeah. The good part is that you have a bunch of these missiles, and they are very light. They are very small missiles. But look at this turn. Hold up. Yeah, look at this, guys. It turns like no other missile. It's very, very similar. Look at that. Jesus Christ, that acceleration of this missile. It's very similar to the R-77. But I just have this feeling that it is the best missile in the game. It feels like that. Like, look at that, man. Look at that acceleration. I don't think there is any other missile that can do this. Like, I don't think there is any other missile that can do this. It's a, like, radar missile. Of course, an R-73 can turn a little bit more and stuff, but technically because of the thrust vectoring and stuff, I don't know how, like, what is the type of system that this missile has. So it's good, guys. It's good. This thing will be scary. Although technically in the stat card it has less range, I think it's the best missile in the game, and French can finally rejoice, right? Then we go for the last 2 nations. One of them is the Swedish with the RB99. Guys, this is the supposed to be at least the AIM-120B, okay? It doesn't change much from any other thing, but it is still a very interesting aircraft for the Swedish. Why? Because this is a new aircraft. The Gripen C variant was added for the Swedes. So this is actually pretty interesting. Why? Because it has not only the AIM-9Ms, which is the RB74M, you have the RB99, which is an AIM-120. It might not be the best AIM-120 out there, but I mean, it still turns very well and it can deal with targets very well. But now we have the RB75T on this thing. And with this, you can actually have a better... where is the camera? Here. You can have a better system for ground attacks, right? I think this is based on the G variant. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have to check. But still, it is a very, very good Maverick, and finally a better Maverick for the Swedes, right? Together with the AIM-120, this thing will be very, very good. I'm just sad about one little thing. The Gripen A is still at 12.7 and no RB99, which I think it's kind of problematic. And the Vegan D is not getting the RB99 as well. I mean, increase the BR of this thing. This thing deserves the RB99. It was made to actually use this thing. So yeah, and then the last one, of course, we have the improved bus, which is the F-15 for them. M120A, nothing too crazy to talk about it. By the way, just to show to you guys that it is basically the same. Yeah, here's the stat card of the RB99, 35 Gs, right? But then the Barak is receiving a new missile, which is very similar to the Darter, right? I don't know if the project is developed together or something, but they're very, very similar missiles. I don't know anything about these missiles, I gotta say, but the big old Rafael over here really tells you a lot. And yeah, this is a very, very good missile as well. Very similar, if not the same. Let me check the weight of these missiles. It might be even be the same between the Darter and this. 118, I think it's, yeah, I think it's the same. 118, right? 118. So it might be basically the same missile. I don't know if it's on purpose or not. Might be. But yeah, guys, basically this is it. The performance of this missile is basically the same as the Darter, okay? So for now, I think, I might be completely wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But these are all the aircraft that will receive FOX-3 missiles. There are a lot of them that are missing. Like the main one, in my opinion, is this thing. I think this thing deserves the M120 and a higher BR maybe, but the M120, maybe the AK-141 with a higher BR would be very cool with the R77 as well. Of course, the US doesn't have anything right now, but in the future it will have it. But the thing is, the ADF could actually carry, the Italian ADF, there are many F-16s that could carry. But at the end of the day, they really use the weapon systems to divide between all the missiles and BRs and everything like that, nations and stuff. They use to balance it out, right? So that's probably why is it like this. So yeah, guys, this is it. M120s, R77s, MICAs, AM4s, Darters, Derbies, RB99s, all of these missiles showcased to you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe and expect the MICA to be the best missile in the game. Probably follow it by the R77, with the two of them being best at something, right? After that, I would consider probably the Darter, the Derby, the AM4 together, maybe the AM4 even better than these two, and then the M120s at the end of the stick, because it's early models of the M120. Of course, if they add the C variant, it will turn more and be a better missile, but don't get me wrong, they are very, very good. It's just that the R77 and the MICA are just, oh my god, those missiles are perfect. But yeah, guys, I see you guys on